Hey everyone, so just a quick interruption. I've created my first merch, and this is going to be the first thing that I promote on this channel, but it's not just any type of merch. So a while ago, I was looking for some funny t-shirts that kind of highlight German culture, but there was nothing really out on the internet that I found that I would want to wear. So what I did was I teamed up with my German friend and we created some designs that you can wear out on the street that represent and highlight some cool and funny aspects of Germany. And we did this instead of just putting, more JPS on a t-shirt and calling it merch. This is actually meant to be worn and to look stylish. So I've created some designs and more will eventually follow if you guys like what you see. And yes, of course, guys, I will make money from the merch if you purchase it, but I want to make it clear that I try to keep the costs as low as possible and create an actually solid product, because the last thing I want to do is promote some crap on here and have you guys just trying to make me money. If you think the idea sucks, please just continue watching the videos anyways. It's completely fine. I appreciate you for watching, for commenting, for liking the videos. That's all that matters. But if you'd also like to support me and you like what you see on the merch website, feel free to grab yourself a shirt or a mug. Everything will be in the description. It's a website linked down below, so feel free to click the link and check it out. Also, everything related to the merchandise website, any questions you may have is answered in the frequently asked questions section, just to make sure everything is transparent. So no worries with any of that, guys. And I hope you guys like it. That's really the merch is for you. So please feel free to buy something. If not, no problem. But with that being said, guys, we're going to get straight back to the video. Apologies for the interruption. Here we go. What's going on, guys? JPS back for another video. And today we're going to be reacting to no speed limits in Germany, why the United States doesn't have an Autobahn. Now, this is a big one because I think that an Autobahn or no speed limit section of some of our highways in the United States would be incredibly beneficial to the country, especially when you think about how massive the United States is and how spread out different places are. People are taking long car journeys daily. Some people commute 1, even 2 hours one way to work. I know people doing that right now. It's mental. So, and having no speed limits, especially in some of the more rural areas, would allow for people to get places faster. And I think that would be a great thing for the country. A lot of Americans fall into the trap in thinking that an Autobahn is just a single road in Germany with no speed limits. In reality, it's the interconnected system of highways in Germany, and not all of them have no speed limits, although a lot of them don't, it's amazing. So let's see why the US doesn't have an Autobahn. Also, guys, I'm wearing some of the new merch. Looks fire. Perfectly timed for this. And check it out. First link in description. Let's get it.
Audi, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche. These cars have made Germany famous for automotive engineering, and they are fast and powerful enough for these equally famous German roads, which are unlike any other in the world. The Autobahn, a national highway system with no top speed limit. If you love cars, chances are driving the Autobahn as fast as you can is one of the things you want to do before you die.
Being able to actually put your vehicle to the test and really show its full potential is the ultimate.
Everything about the Autobahn owes a lot to Germany's unique and difficult history.
So there's this kind of bizarre Cold War moment when German lawmakers argue that being a free citizen, somebody who is not living in a totalitarian dictatorship, has to be able to drive as fast as they want.
So, and an interesting part about that argument is the United States framed so much of its arguments about, freedom, being able to do what you want. I feel like vehicles are so important in our culture. Like what car you drive says a lot about your status and identity. People, they put a lot into their cars. So I'm surprised that we're not fighting for this more. Like, what?
Why doesn't the US or any other country in the world have an Autobahn? And is it really all it's cracked up to be?
Yes, it is.
First things first, What is the Autobahn? The full name is actually Bundesautobahn, which simply means federal highway. It is a more than 8,000-mile system of limited access freeways that run all throughout Germany. The word Autobahn is often just translated as motorway. In simple design terms, it's quite similar to freeways in the United States. Limited access means cars and trucks only. No pedestrians, no bicycles, no skateboards, nothing other than cars. There are designated entry and exit points and no stoplights or intersections. The roots of the Autobahn go back all the way to the early 20th century, but really, the first big step in its growth happened under Adolf Hitler. There really was no need for it at all. Few Germans owned cars. Most took public transit, which was plenty fast and got people to where they needed to go. The Autobahn's real potential was as propaganda.
They wanted to build a sort of a futuristic mega project, something that would lend itself to, talking about the regime as a modern, forward-looking regime. At the same time, while it was, politically speaking, a very repressive, totalitarian dictatorship, right? It was about symbolizing power, the conquest of space.
By the end of World War II, there were less than 4,000 kilometers built, about 2,500 miles.
Okay.
It was really from the 1960s through the 80s that the Autobahn system we know today was properly developed.
This was obviously a time when the Federal Republic became sort of an affluent Western liberal democracy and also much more of a consumer society. So people actually began to own cars in much higher numbers.
The post-World War II era is also when the Autobahn gained its most famous trait: long stretches with no speed limits. During the Nazi era, the speed limits were mainly to conserve fuel for the war effort.
The birth of a new free nation for Germany.
Once West Germany became independent and separate from the Communist East in 1949, it kept the Nazi-era speed limits for a few years. But then,
in a really astonishing move, the Federal Parliament in 1952 decides to abolish all speed limits, not just on the Autobahn, but on any kind of highway and in urban areas as well. And you can imagine the results, especially in cities, right? With cars going as fast as they want.
crashes, injuries, and fatalities all rose until the...
Wait, they abolished all speed limits at one time? Yeah, that was not a smart idea. I don't know if I would want it to be around during that time for several reasons, not just the speed limits.
Crashes, injuries, and fatalities all rose until the government started reinstating limits on roads. It mostly left the Autobahn alone. Mostly. Today, speed is regulated on about 40% of the motorways.
Okay.
Some limits are fixed, others are dynamic, changing according to conditions. On the rest of the freeway, the recommended speed limit is about 80 miles per hour. That means if you get into a crash at a speed above that, you can be held liable for the accident.
My parents commute regularly from Nuremberg to Munich, and my mom will drive 100 miles an hour, and it's not a big deal.
It's not that unusual to just travel somewhere at 200 kilometers an hour, which is around 125 miles an hour. But all things considered, on average, I would say it's probably best to imagine Autobahn traffic somewhat like driving through Texas, maybe, or through Kansas. People don't drive slow. It's quite fast all the way around, but it's not recklessly fast. It's not race car fast.
German race car driver Rudolf Caracciola is still believed to hold the record for the fastest speed ever recorded on the Autobahn, 268.8 miles per hour. But others have come quite close, such as a Bugatti Chiron that hit 257 in 2021.
I saw this clip as well. That was insane. It's never necessary to go these speeds, but it is cool to see how fast humans can go. I mean, it's definitely reckless. So there's recommendations on the Autobahn, but if you're above the speed and you get into an accident, it's your fault, even if the other person cuts in front of you. Like, I wonder how many people in Germany have dash cams, because that helps a lot in who's right or wrong in accidents. Otherwise, it's kind of he said, she said type of thing. Like, it's difficult to deal with that in court.
I have driven a BMW B7. It's an Alpina 600 horsepower sedan. I drove that 170 on the Autobahn. That's the fastest I've driven. It was difficult to do, by the way.
I'd rather not talk about the fastest I went, even though it's legal to do so. Let's just say I once went 4 towns away from us by accident. I didn't want to go that far, but I was just going a little too quickly.
German automakers don't necessarily make their cars specifically for the Autobahn, but the demands of high-speed environments like these highways do influence their engineering decisions and marketing. Mercedes refers to their cars as Autobahn proven.
Driving at high speed is not a video game. It should be relaxed cruising, yeah? And the big challenge for us is controlling the energy in the car, which increases with the square of speed. And that becomes very important at speeds over about, I would say, 60 miles per hour.
It starts with aerodynamic designs, but axles, suspension systems, springs, dampers, roll bars, the tires, the braking systems are all tuned to perform at this level.
We tune the vehicle safety, the comfort and agility, yes, to deliver a typical Mercedes-Benz driving character at high speeds.
Mercedes even has an onboard system designed to keep the car on course when it is hit from the side by a strong gust of wind.
Even with startling events like, for example, powerful wind gusts. So our aim is to keep the car stable and safely on course at high speed without permanent steering corrections, while damping out bothersome chassis motions. And the car will always support the driver by being tolerant of mistakes.
It's turned into a Mercedes advertisement. So also, I was wondering about the suggestion speeds, the dynamic ones. Who is setting those? And like, that's super cool too. Is it like just a digital sign and the speed limit suggestion changes based off of the weather conditions? We don't have that in the United States at all. The speed limits are all, stable. They stay the same, but we do have these kind of digital billboards on the highway. Usually they're like above bridges and stuff. And sometimes they'll display information like, it's raining, turn your headlights on, turn your windshield wipers on. It's the law. I'm like, why would someone not have those on already? But you'd be surprised. People in the United States do not drive like safely, really. So,
To understand why Germany is basically the only country in the world with a mostly unregulated highway like this, it is probably best to look at what makes Germany's driving laws and car culture so different from, say, the supposedly freedom-loving United States. First of all, it's a lot harder to drive a car in general in Germany. You can't get a license in the country until the age of 18. In the US, the law varies, but in most states, people can obtain learner's permits at 15 and receive licenses allowing them to drive legally under at least some conditions by the age of 16. It is also far more expensive and challenging to obtain a license. Many hours of instruction are required and the tests are demanding.
It's much more difficult, it's more expensive. A lot of people fail their driving tests, myself included.
Fees for a license and all of the associated instruction in Germany can run 2,500 to 3,500 euros when you add up the costs. The fee for a driver's license in the state of California is $45, but that state, as is common in the US, requires driver education classes as well. Then
I do not want this person on the road near me. The way they're just jerking the car around. 2,500 to 3,500 euros, though. I mean, that's a car. You could buy a car with that. Would it be a good one? No. Definitely would have a lot of miles on it, but a car is a car. That's really expensive to get a license. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It means that you have better drivers on the road. But wow, that's a lot of money.
Education classes as well. Then, the certification process for your car in the country is also extremely stringent.
I had to get my 500 euro minivan through it. It was not easy. And that sort of makes the Autobahn feel safer. You're surrounded by cars that have been rigorously checked. A lot of cars here in the States, especially in the Rust Belt, would probably not be fit for the Autobahn.
Having such barriers in the US would really limit the number of people and cars who can drive in a country that is right now far more car dependent than Germany is.
Yep.
Americans drive about twice as much as Germans.
Damn.
Germany is a much more urbanized country. There's lots of people who live in major cities who don't even have a driver's license. They get around using public transit and use rail.
Then there is the cost of this. A lot of engineering goes into keeping these motorways drivable at these speeds. The pavement is extremely smooth and is more or less constantly maintained. That's expensive. The German government spends 5 times more on the Autobahn than it does on its other federal highways.
If you look at the average American freeway or interstate, you will usually just find concrete surfaces. And in Germany, it's way more intricate than that. You can drive through the pouring rain on modern strips of Autobahn that were recently redone, and you don't have any spray whatsoever. You can travel at very high speeds through the pouring rain, and that is no issue at all.
Though the U.S. population is
amazing.
far larger than Germany's, building up a highway system that could realistically handle such high speeds would require much investment. And U.S. infrastructure suffers both criticism and financial insecurity.
Yeah, our roads are terrible, guys. Like the highways, they're not properly maintained. And then if you get in the cities or even some of the suburban roads, forget about it. Your suspension is going to go out in a couple years. Like the amount of potholes that we have is ridiculous. But I cannot believe that you just driving in the rain on the Autobahn at high speeds and there's minimal spray coming up. Like, and every time I see any road on the Autobahn, I'm just amazed. Like even right here, it's just it's perfect. It looks perfectly paved. All of the lines are freshly painted. It looks like something out of a video game. Doesn't look like real life. So that will 100% make it safer.
The thing is, Tracy says, Americans might not be missing as much as they think they are.
I have found that the reality is it's a little bit anticlimactic in a way. It's just not quite what you want it to be.
Just because there is no speed limit doesn't mean you will always be able to drive fast. Across Germany, there were about 516,000 traffic jams in a single year. The number of hours Germans spend in traffic has been rising. Several highways had traffic jams that were longer than 40 miles.
It's under construction a lot. It makes sense. If you have an unrestricted highway, it has to be perfect. You can't have a deep pothole like in Detroit where I used to live. If you had one of those potholes on the Autobahn, you'd see cars getting air.
Germany's Autobahns are also major thoroughfares for international commerce.
Germany is kind of right smack dab in the center there of Europe. It's sort of this connector between East and West, even North and South. So you see a lot of commerce. A lot of trucks are traveling on that Autobahn, and they are not fast.
If you come to Germany and expect a large and vast countryside and you can go wherever as fast as you like, then you might get disappointed because it's quite crowded and we have large cities.
The absence of speed limits...
So is this traffic jam issue more of a rush hour problem, or is that like just it's becoming a big problem all the time? And like, how do we fix that in Germany as well? Expanding the highway, opening up more lanes. I don't know, like the level of maintenance and construction going on the roads will obviously cause traffic jams, and that can't change because you guys have such a high standard in Germany. But let me know your personal experiences on the traffic situation in Germany for those of you who are driving around. Has it like gotten really bad recently, or is it just something you're dealing with? Like, let me know.
On German motorways divides even German opinion. Polls have shown that a slight majority of Germans favor introducing a hard limit on the Autobahn for safety reasons and to help the country hit environmental goals. Speed does worsen the severity of crashes and raises the risks of injuries and deaths. That said, most of Germany's vehicle fatalities happen on rural roads, followed by urban ones. The share of motorway fatalities is also smaller than those in some other OECD countries, such as Slovenia, Luxembourg, and Belgium.
I guess there's studies supporting each side of that argument, but the numbers don't lie. You don't have much differences in fuel consumption, for example. It just doesn't make a whole lot of difference to drive 130 kilometers per hour or keep it open. And you also have to consider the fact that we don't always travel at full speed all the time.
There are also strict rules. The left lane is for passing. Unlike highways in many other countries, you cannot pass on the right. If someone is behind you in the left lane, you have to move over. Tailgating is a serious offense that comes with heavy fines.
It's also for everybody a high responsibility. So that's why we are not allowed to pass on the right lane. You have to also adapt your speed
Statistically speaking, Autobahns are safer than other roads, but that mostly has to do with the fact that there's only cars and only trucks. I mean, there are people who literally are afraid to drive on the Autobahn because of the lack of a speed limit.
In like manner, the data on how much introducing a
Honestly, guys, I would be less afraid to drive on the Autobahn than a US highway because I know that the drivers around me are more educated on driving laws and what's right, and the cars are better maintained and tested, so that like that helps. But this brings up the debate on rules versus freedom. I find, especially in this situation, that sometimes rules can create more freedom, contrary to what you would think logically, because freedom is like, oh, we're able to do anything. But for example, in the United States, listen, we're handing out licenses like free samples. Anyone can get it, you know. Cars, they're not that hard to get either. Like, you just have to save up some money. Easier said than done. But there's a lot of really bad cars on the road that do not cost much money. Like, I'm saying less than €1,000, literally, like less than 1 or 2,000 euros. A lot of those. So I think that by having some of these laws in place, like not being able to pass on the right, getting over if someone is behind you, ultimately gives you more freedom on the road than when you're allowing everyone to do what they want. For example, on the US interstate system, everything's clogged up. People are going vroom, 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 and then you can't really go anywhere. So you have almost no freedom when it's supposed to be about freedom and being able to go where you want, when you want. It's just, and also traffic jams. I know we talk about traffic jams in Germany. That's a huge problem in the United States. A lot of big US cities that have built their cities around freeways and big roads and interstates coming through the cities deal with massive traffic problems. And it's not just rush hour when people are getting off of work or going to work. It's all the time. Like, the congestion is really bad. And as more cars are added and our population gets bigger, I don't know if the solution is just to keep, because what we do is we plow into the land and create more lanes. And of course, the people living near the interstates are always protesting against that in the United States because they're like, no, don't add more lanes. It's just going to encourage more driving. So it's a tough situation. And no one wants to be stuck in traffic. It sucks.
The data on how much introducing a speed limit would reduce carbon pollution has met with skepticism, though some recent numbers suggest it might be more than previously believed.
Anybody who owns an electric car will tell you, when they go fast on the highway, their range plummets. The BMW i3, which was developed right there in Munich. And that car, I can drive it in the city and I'll go 180 miles in the city on a charge. But on the freeway, I'll do 115.
So in many ways, Americans envious of these German speedways might be missing out on a bit of fun, but it might also be true they are envious of something that is more myth than reality.
I think a lot of Americans probably would travel to Germany, they'd get a fast car and they'd say, woohoo, let's do it. And then they'd be stuck behind a truck in traffic and they'd be like, what the heck's going on? It is not a racetrack, but every now and then, the right stretch of the Autobahn and the right time of day and the right car, you can reach automotive nirvana.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got to be the right car. That's true. But yes, also like with electric cars, they're not perfect either. And going faster and revving and going down and all that is not as efficient as just going a stable speed the whole way through. So that's consuming more energy. And of course, the gasoline powered cars are consuming more fuel by going fast. So I don't know, guys. What do you think? Also, traffic jams are a waste of energy and fuel too, because they're just idling in traffic and start and stop, tapping the brakes all the time. So it's not an easy situation for the United States or for Germany. And we also have to live with our history and pre-existing infrastructure, because you can't just snap your fingers and be like, okay, we're going to create a new highway system and these are the new rules and we're going to make it super nice. Like, that costs a lot of money. So interesting stuff, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.